Hello, everyone. Glad to see you back at Silver Tears Tarot. And of course, welcome to you if you're joining new. So I got another burning question in my inbox. And here's a person who is in separation, who has asked what they can expect from the future in this relationship. So will their person come back? We're going to take a look at that, and I'm just going to put it into what I'm now calling the Soulmate series. So if you've noticed, I've created a couple of playlists on YouTube. So basically I have monthly readings. So if you ever want to go in there in the future, once there are a few racked up, to see the month's flow, now you can. If you want to see questions that were special requests, you can. And I noticed there were a lot of special requests about soulmates specifically. Ooh. So I created the Soulmate series. So if you just want to look at those readings, just those readings now, you can. Honestly, that may be the fastest growing playlist on there. So if I answer an inbox question, I gather the energy of the people who are in this cycle. And of course, you know, the person who inboxed me is going to be part of that cycle. So if you are too, that means you have a nice reading to help you look into your situation. And that's likely who will be attracted to this. So, you know, I'll just say the same as I usually do. You know, it's a general reading. It's for all signs, like mine are usually. The readings are also timeless. So you'll be more drawn to readings when it's the right time for you to hear. And, you know, I would just ask, if it resonates, please like, share, and subscribe so that you can stick with me. And so let's go ahead and jump into this. You know, and again, so this is the question of, you know, we're in separation and I want to know what I can expect from my person. You know, I want to know, a lot of times when I get this question, it's, are they coming back? But the person specifically asked me what they could expect from this situation. And so I want to go ahead and honor that and answer that question. So let's go ahead and grab kind of the current energy that's happening there for them. What's happening for that? What is the current energy for my folks here who are in separation? And, oh, we've got the Two of Swords. Okay, so just taking that top card. So there's a, let me show you this. There's this sort of decision that needs to be made here about how to go on. So it's almost like, do you see how, I want to take a look at this for a second. Do you see how it looks like, you know, this frog is sort of clinging on, and that there's almost this flow of things happening underneath, or at least that's how it feels when I look at this card. And so there's a decision here, and it's about the flow that's happening underneath. And so your person is really, and you are having to decide how you want to handle this situation. So your relationship feels like it's almost in this suspended animation. And so we will go ahead and clarify here in a little bit. So this is the Guardian of the Night Tarot, by the way, that I'm using. And I'm going to clarify with the Wheel of Fortune Tarot when the time comes. But for now, we see in your current energy, there's sort of this stasis. There's this suspended animation sort of feeling about this relationship, like you guys have to think about how to proceed with it. So let's learn a little bit more about that, and I guess what I like to call the energy surrounding it, or the weather. You know, what's kind of that overarching setting. And if it's a single card, yes. So we see the Five of Swords, and the Five of Swords is around anxiety. So there's anxiety in the situation, you know, and it's just not a very comfortable place. So when I see this card, one of the things that sort of bothers me, or makes me think that a person might be bothered, is it's that feeling of having things sort of hanging over your head that need to be done but aren't being done. But it's that emotional feeling of those things hanging over your head. And so you've also got you've got this situation where you guys have to decide how to proceed because you're in this suspended animation, but it's really a sitting with discomfort sort of feeling, I guess. I'm trying to figure out how to put it into words, but that feels like what it is. It's sitting with discomfort. So let's take a look. That question that I like to ask about what's sticking out the most in this situation. What is sticking out the most in this situation? And this is in your soulmate situation, so it's the King of Pentacles. It's a sense of safety. There is, and both of you need this, but you are getting it from each other. So that's one of the reasons that both of you are having such a hard time and you're feeling so uncomfortable, is that you guys were giving each other this sense of, I got this. You know, you had each other's backs to a certain degree. And even though I kind of get the sense that it was a hot and cold, on and off sort of feeling, when you guys were on, you were really on. And, you know, now that there's this separation, there's this discomfort that just seems like it never goes away. Kind of like that feeling of something emotionally hanging over your head, but it's also just... all I can think of is just sitting in discomfort. And so you've got to decide, like, you can't sit like this. This suspended animation can only last so long. But this is kind of what's driving it. So what I know this is the thing that's sticking out the most in the situation, but it almost feels like this is at the crux. This is almost like the issue that you have to solve. But that sounds maybe different from the way I mean it. So you guys make each other feel amazing, but you need to be able to feel amazing without each other, is what it's starting to kind of feel like. So let's dig in a little bit deeper. And what I want to know is kind of what this person wants, what their hopes and fears are as they're looking at this situation. Because remember, they're uncomfortable from the separation too, and they also felt amazing when the two of you are together. But there's that edge of kind of feeling like you almost have to have it. Okay, so this is the Magician in reverse, and so this is that fear of feeling like their hands are tied, okay? The Magician is a master manifester, and so it's about being able to do what you want to do and make the things happen that you want to make happen, and just manifesting your reality, feeling empowered to do so, like you are standing beside the universe and manifesting and in partnership with the universe. That is the most powerful way to do it. But with it being in reverse like this, it really just feels like that part of them is shut off and they don't know how to turn it back on, and that they feel like you wake that up in them. And so part of the discomfort that they are feeling is that this switch no longer works. And this is part of what keeps them in this suspended animation, because, you know, they want to get back to being able to manifest and being able to have things feel great. They want the discomfort to go away. But they have a choice to make here. So what's hidden here? What's really causing, I guess, the distance? I'd be curious to know about that, because we know you're in separation. We know there's discomfort around it. It's forcing a decision. We know that you guys make each other feel incredible, and that really, with the magic being sort of gone, with you being apart, it makes at least them feel like they can't do what they want to do. So what was in the way here? I want to understand, and we'll clarify all of this, but I want to understand what was in the way. What's the hidden part? What don't you know about, you know, what was in the way? Let's say it that way. Okay, this is a single card. I'll take it. And this is the Chariot. Okay, so this is about something not being allowed to move forward, and it could have been them not allowing themselves to move forward. I almost get that sense of, I'm afraid to be vulnerable, and so I close up. But it could be, let's see what it is when we clarify it, because it could be more than that, or something sort of to develop that out. Because something not moving forward, you know, it's like sometimes you get that sense of, I was talking about in another reading, the wagon wheels stuck in the mud, but with this, it's like dug in heels, kind of. It's, it lends credence to the thought that I was having earlier over here about it being like a hot and cold sort of situation, because if you've got somebody digging in their heels and yet they rely on you for this amazing feeling and this ability to manifest, and they're uncomfortable without you, but they're resisting you. That's kind of what I'm feeling. So that's maybe part of what I was asking was, you know, what's behind this that makes it so that you guys are not in communication right now, you know. So let's see a little bit about what is coming your way with this person. What can you expect? This is kind of the big question here. We've looked into it, but what can you expect from this person in this relationship going forward? What can you expect? Maybe their next move, or how can things change? What is likely to change? And of course, that's what we're looking at. Because when you're reading the energies in tarot, you're reading the current energies that are out there. That's why, you know, you'll read, that's why they're, you know, timeless, because it's the way that energy, well, first of all, because time doesn't exist in, you know, from a universal perspective, but also because it's going to be when you connect with those, with that energy. So this is the one we want up here. It's the Hierophant. Okay. So what you can expect in the future, and this is the guidance Hierophant. So it comes out a little bit differently to me every time, or maybe not every time, but often. So sometimes the Hierophant is you know, it's the marriage card, it's union, it's a stability, it's also kind of that universal guidance, and that's what I'm seeing here. So this is universal guidance coming from somebody. We're going to have to clarify to understand, you know, what that means. So we have a situation here where people are in separation, and the person who, you know, inboxed me, and probably you, if you're watching the video, want to know what you can expect here. So you've got a situation that feels distinctly uncomfortable, because you guys are like waiting to figure out how you want to handle this almost, you know, and so it feels distinctly uncomfortable. It's just that feeling of sitting in discomfort, because when the two of you are together, you feel so great, so fantastic, and yet there's this edge of, you know, maybe not wanting to have to rely on each other to feel that way, but definitely when you're together, it's like you're just this amazing force. But what they've noticed is when you're not together, they lack that manifestation energy and that amazing force. And it's like you guys are greater. The whole of you is greater than the sum of your parts. So when you add up you plus them, it's greater than, you know, it would be if you just did it on paper. But it's all been kind of torn down in this hot and cold sort of energy, maybe coming in and out. This might not even be the first separation or the first hint that you had, that there would be a separation, and it's about them digging in their heels, we see here. But the next step is there is an awakening, or, you know, I talked about it being like universal guidance, but it feels like this would be sort of an awakening. So I guess let's go ahead and clarify. And like I said, I want to clarify with the Wheel of Fortune Tarot. This is one of those tried and true ratty old decks. The poor box that it comes in is just every time it's like, oh, this one again, but yes, this one again. This deck is awesome. So first we're going to go for clarifying that Two of Swords, just to understand a little bit more about this Two of Swords, because it looks like, you know, there's a decision to make. The two of you need to make a decision. Yeah, here comes the Empress in reverse. So here's the Empress, and in reverse like this, it's about the development that's not yet done. So it's very much feeling those things that you have not yet learned. And the thing is that I don't know that whether you stay on the sword or you jump in the flow of energy below, you have a choice. I think you're going to end up learning it. You know, where else is that frog going to go? I mean, I know I'm expanding the metaphor, but that's kind of what I get here, is that the issue here, and it's driving a lot of this discomfort, is the fact that that learning hasn't happened yet. And it's really, it's a mutual experience. So let me kind of expand on that for a second. So this is your mutual experience with this. Both of you are trying to figure out how to handle this. And when this Empress comes out like this, it's this development that hasn't been done yet. You know, that's really what it is. Because the Empress, when you're in your Empress energy, you are feeling whole. You are feeling like you don't need somebody to help you feel great the way that edge that we felt on this. It's almost like that devil energy edge, but you know, the devil didn't come out, but that's still kind of what I felt there a little bit. But what I'm seeing here is that is where that's where it's missing. That's where you're feeling it's missing. And you can't get away from that feeling. Neither one of you can. And so you're both trying to figure out, like, how do I handle this? Okay. And so it's getting in the way of a new beginning. It's getting in the way of a passionate new start, I guess. That's what's causing the fact that this thing is in, it's very circular. The fact that this relationship of yours is in stasis, that it's in this suspension right now, it's a chicken and the egg sort of situation with the development that has not yet occurred and with the fact that things can't yet start again. So some growth is going to have to happen here that allows you to make this decision, and that's going to help you to get past some of this discomfort. So let's look at the discomfort. So we know that there's some growth that has to happen here between the two of you before you are able to come back together. So yeah, here, this is a lack of self-mastery. That's a feeling of awareness of a lack of self-mastery. So this is like that feeling that you have wrapped around the fact that you guys feel so great when you're together. And it causes this discomfort when you're not. Well, part of the discomfort is knowing that you're kind of not ready to come back together, because that's what that is. That self-mastery is almost like I recognize that I'm being a little bit obsessive about this, or that I'm acting in a way that I might deem unhealthy if I saw someone do it. And then we've also got the Page of Pentacles, which is, this is a card about learning though. So this is hope. A lot of times when the Star card comes out, you know, we think of it as hope, but this is like minor arcana hope. And I mean, there's hope all over the minor arcana, but in the Page of Pentacles, it's particularly promising, because here is someone who's willing to learn and who is in the process of learning. And in this case, because of where it sits in the spread, it's somebody who recognizes that they don't have the self-mastery to allow this to come back together. So you're both stuck trying to decide what you're going to do next. You recognize that this lack of development is here, which is kind of like recognizing this lack of self-mastery here. It's getting in the way of a new start for you, but you're willing to learn and work to get past that. And that's where the hope comes in, because that's a remarkably hopeful, positive attitude. And again, it seems to be mutual. So as I was pulling these cards, you know, the cards are about the energy that's flowing between you. And that's sometimes why you'll see the energy flip-flopped in some readings and things like that, because it's really pulling on the energy that's happening between you. But when I do it, my intention to the universe is to pull a little bit more of theirs, but to also, you can't help but pull some of yours, you know. And so when I look at this and I see that both of you feel incredible when you're together, I was really kind of more asking the question of how they feel, how they see you, what's the thing that sticks out the most with regard to them. But what came out was something very mutual. And so I see a lot of very mutual energy that has come out on the table here. Let's go ahead and take a look at this King of Pentacles and see a little bit more about this. So remember, this is how the thing that sticks out the most, and it ends up being how you make each other feel. All right, so And just so you know, this Two of Swords, that it didn't want to come out and be put on the table, but it wants the honorable mention. And this here with the frogs is also the Two of Swords. And so what I'm just going to talk about it. So we've got the King of Pentacles, which is the thing that sticks out the most about you guys, and it's about how you make each other feel. And so when I ask more about that, ask for clarification, I get the Magician in reverse, which, as it turns out, is really that card that represents your person's hopes and fears. And it was all about not being able to manifest, that they feel like they're the master manifester. But what's really that edge right there that kind of was giving me that devil sense, that edge was that fear of the inability to manifest. And then here, it's that fear of being put into this situation where you are now, because you could kind of feel it coming. Both of you could feel this coming a little bit, if you're honest with yourselves, because they may know they have a tendency to dig their heels in, and maybe this has happened for them before, but this seems deeper. So it's something that has happened before to both of you that makes you more sensitive, I guess, to this particular situation, and it's what has landed you in this cycle. It's what's landed you in this cycle. So when I talked earlier about folks who are in the same cycle with the person who asked the question, these answers may well resonate for them as well, because we don't do these things in a vacuum, and there are several people, you know, that would be going through the same thing at the same time. Not always on the same timeline, but you know, somebody could be ahead of you or behind you on the timeline, and that's why, you know, it might be beneficial to find these readings at different times. So, okay, we also have the Fool. All right, so you guys bring out in each other a bit of a fear in that, you know, you're afraid that the master levels of manifestation are going to go away because it feels like they just came in with this person. In truth, they were unlocked by your interactions with this person, but it's really you doing the manifesting. So it isn't so much that you need this person to do it or that they need you to do it. It's more that that you've unlocked it and you just need to understand how that works. But there's this fear that it's going to go away because it feels like it has, and that's that discomfort that you're having there. Of course, that discomfort is really more around what you still have to learn, that lack of self-mastery, but it's locking you up because you've got that, that Two of Swords, that honorable mention here, that decision you need to make about, do I jump in or do I not jump in? Because there's that flow of emotion down there, you know. And the truth is, what we saw with this card, it doesn't truly matter whether you jump in or not. You're going to learn the lesson. So do you jump in and learn the lesson, or do you not jump in and take longer to learn the lesson? So the recommendation is kind of to jump in, because you're not going to get to a place where you can restart this relationship or be successful in any other, really, without kind of coming back to this place. There's a reason that this cycle sort of repeats, you know, and so it's about this learning, this development that needs to take place, and it's around self-mastery. It's about realizing that this person was a gift. They helped you unlock something amazing, but honestly, that was you. And for them, they have that same lesson, but there should be no fear that you'll lose the ability to manifest, because the only reason that ability to manifest has been lost by either of you is around the fears from the lack of self-mastery. But you guys have unlocked something amazing, because honestly, now you've had this experience, the one that you had with them, and so even though you're in separation and things are maybe not so pleasant right now, you now know what it feels like to truly jump in like that, and so that is going to help you in the future. But let's take a look now at what's happening with your person's hopes and fears. I want to dig in a little bit more on that, because this is part of what's stopping them from finding their own self-mastery. And so we've got the Queen of Wands in the upright, just taking that top card there. All right, and we've got the Six of Swords reversed, again, just taking the top card. So here we have the Magician, which was representative of your person's hopes and fears. And what it really was is that feeling of losing that master manifester. We've got this sort of energy because the two of you aren't together. But this Queen of Wands is all about, honestly, it's about that realization. So up here I was saying, you know, it was that you had unlocked that it was really that, you know, you had unlocked that ability in yourself. But this Queen of Wands, she's very passionate, very kind of going forward without thinking sometimes, though. And so in this case, it's more not that she's being rash, but that she's gone through without thinking something through all the way and without having the healing done. So she doesn't yet realize that it's kind of reflecting this same message over here. She doesn't yet realize that this has been unlocked. So your person doesn't, male or female, doesn't matter, but your person doesn't realize that this potential has been unlocked for them. And it's the same lesson that you have to learn here. But your lesson has been that, or your lesson will be that you have unlocked this potential. You now know what it's like. There's no reason to fear losing it, which of course is what you're living now. But that shroud has to be removed, and it's really about coming through this healing that is represented up here by, you know, the frog that's trying to decide, oh, should I jump? Should I jump? But the idea is you're going to learn the lesson whether you jump or not. But if you jump in to the flow of emotion and you go with it, you'll learn the lesson more quickly and come back to a place where you have self-mastery as part of that process and that lesson that you both seem willing to learn to alleviate this discomfort. But it's also going to bring you back to a place where you can potentially reignite this should you decide to. And so now let's look a little bit more closely at this situation where your person digs in their heels. So you've got a person here who it feels increasingly to me like this is not the first time they've done this sort of behavior. Like they do this. They dig in their heels when they get scared. And it's not, you know, I'm trying to be bad or anything. It's just, it's like a fear response. Okay, so we've got the 10 of Cups. That's that same one that came up before in the background. So we've got the 10 of Cups in reverse. And so, okay, they're afraid it's too good to be true. And the 3 of Cups. But I'm having such a great time. These two play off each other. And they do a nice job of explaining why your person digs in their heels. So your person is digging in their heels because they can't believe it's this good. So, you know, we saw up here how amazing you guys feel together. I almost want to look into this a little bit more I wish I could put down more cards just to kind of understand, you know, what is it that translates from, how do you get from this feels so great to I therefore must dig in my heels and put a stop to it? Like, what causes that? I know it's fear and a switch being flipped. They feel like it's too good to be true. We're going to do an extended reading for this one, and we're going to look at this. What is it that makes you go from this feels so great to I have to dig in my heels and put a stop to it? I think that's what we're going to look into here, because it's going to help answer the question about why you truly ended up in separation anyway. I think there may be some cloudiness around that, because that's what the person who asked the question, they were in separation, but it was kind of an ambiguous ending. You know, things had ended, but it wasn't a big fiery thing, you know. And so we'll look a little bit more into why this is. And so let's also look here in this reading about why, or what's happening here with this Hierophant, why this card has come out this way. So this is guidance. This is awakening. What's happening here? This is awakening to the universe, and that's kind of what you can expect. So that's huge. That's not what I expected. You know, I thought it was going to be a does this person come back sort of thing, and But what I'm hearing is, well, there's an awakening here. It seems like there are things that you can do to go through the experience and the awakening to make it possible for them to come back. So we've got this Nine of Wands, which is the one that we're going to take. And so the Nine of Wands is, you know, you'll hear it traditionally called that Wounded Warrior card. And this is no exception. And the Four of Pentacles in reverse. And this one is about letting go. Ooh, okay. So even while you're in this position, this is where the awakening is going to come, actually. While you're in this position of, the Wounded Warrior sort of builds a wall, but it's not a great wall. They're usually recovering from some sort of emotional wound. And, you know, it's a lot of times you'll see them depicted with a bandage around their head, you know, and it's like this psychic wound, emotional wounding. And your awakening is going to come as a result of that, because that's really what has transpired here. And so it's when the frog gets too tired of holding on, you know, and decides, I guess I got to learn just by jumping in, which honestly is going to be the faster way to learn. That's where some of that self-mastery is going to come through, and where this awakening is going to happen. But it's really going to be around non-attachment. And maybe there's a reading I did yesterday that was heavy in the non-attachment, and really the guidance here, the thing that you're going to get closer to is, how do I become unattached? How do I release attachments, you know, expectations and assumptions around people and situations and outcomes, and how do I do that? So we'll look a little bit more into this lesson in the extended also. Definitely want to understand a little bit more about this, your person, but to finish up here, you know, just to kind of recap, you have the potential to come back. There's going to be a great learning. That's what's coming for you as a result of this situation where you're in separation. So you're in separation. There's a lot of discomfort. We see that, you know, your person has dug in their heels because it felt like it was too good to be true, which we see echoed up here. But you guys have learned something. Cat's out of the bag here. Unfortunately, you've got this self-fulfilling prophecy where you were afraid that you wouldn't be able to have this master manifestor energy if the two of you were apart, which isn't really true because you've just unlocked it in one another. But that's what's happening because you haven't gone through the healing that helps to bring you that self mastery that's going to allow you to be able to do this whether or not you're with your other person. But this awakening has to come first. So we'll look a little bit more at that awakening in the extended and understand what is it exactly that you have to do, you know, and then I'm going to ask my bridge question. So in the extended, we'll look at what is really in the way for your person. What makes them lock up like this? And then what is your awakening look like? And then also, what does that bridge look like? What do you have to get past in order to get from there to here? It's sort of what's crossing you, but it's how you're going to cross that bridge. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. If it resonated with you, I hope to see you in the extended. Of course, remember, like I said, to like, share, and subscribe if you are so inclined. So I'll see you over there, or maybe I'll just see you in another reading. Either way, have a great rest of the day.